Welcome to Be Better Thursdays, a video every Thursday to inspire you to be the highest version of yourself with strong Vida. Be better every day. So, the reason why I'm making this video is because 2 weeks ago I started realizing that a lot of people, it was bothering me that a lot of people around me were complaining too much. And this has happened many times in my life. I'm sure it has happened to you too. The important part of this story is that when you realize something is bothering you, what I like to practice in those scenarios is to turn inward. To remember that that situation is just a messenger that's bringing the opportunity for a bigger lesson to start or continue inside of you. So that which you're complaining about or that which is bothering you, turn it to yourself if you remember, but the more you practice, the more you're going to remember. And then ask yourself the same questions that you're actually asking that person. So in my head, I was like, oh my God, when are you going to stop complaining? Like, this is so awful. You're complaining too much. So I'm telling this to myself. When am I going to start complaining? And I was like, where am I complaining? So where am I complaining? It's a question. And yes, I found many places where I was complaining. And this is called a mirror. So everything that you are projecting in your life, it's actually coming from you because you are the projector of the movie that you're watching. So there's nothing that you can see outside that it's not already in you. So if that's what's popping up for you, then it's time to look for that inside and do that work. And so that's what I started doing. And I found a lot of good tips that I used to use and I kind of like got back into, and I want to share those with you. But I have so much to say about complaining that I first want to start by saying I was a chronic complainer for many years of my life. This is like a short confession. In my early 20s, I was doing a play and I was participating with a lot of people in this play, and some people I didn't actually have contact with outside of the theater because there were a lot of age difference. I was in my early 20s and some of them were in their late 50s, and there wasn't that much to relate to. And then one day the art director says, I want to take you all to look at LA and get to know the city, and so we're all going to hop in a bus and we're going to go. And I was like, great. I hop in the bus and I look through the window and I see that it's starting to rain, and I say, oh my God, I hate rain. Every time it rains, it's, when I want to do something fun. And this guy who was part of the play was behind me, and he looks at me and he says, you are always complaining. You're always whining about something. And oh my God, I'm not going to tell you the next part of that story. I'm going to go back to that story. But the point of that story is most people that are complainers don't really know they are complainers. First, because there's very few people that are willing to tell you that you're complaining a lot. Nobody really wants to, start that conversation with you. And second of all, it's a very rooted habit that has become so common in our society, not only around your friends and your family, but you see it on TV, on videos, on social media, it's everywhere. So it makes it seem like it's okay. And that's another thing that I hear a lot is that when I say we need to start complaining, people say like, I don't want to stop complaining. I have the right to say what's wrong and what feels bad. And I think that there needs to be a huge differentiation between what I call releasing or venting and complaining. And complaining is something that is eternal. It really keeps you in this very challenging to get out cycle of negativity. So the complainer doesn't really want to solve the situation. The complainer has no intentions to move on. So the complainer, it's using complaining as a tool to keep up with life. The venting, it's a different thing. Those who want to vent is just something that we need in order to release, especially our emotions and our feelings. And I suggest that when you want to vent, it's always better to just journal or write emails or maybe go out walking or going to do a hobby that you really like. Maybe that's playing guitar or something like that. But it takes practice to catch yourself and actually do that. So if you're not in that situation yet, you can talk to somebody, but if you're going to take up the time of somebody to be negative and vent, I suggest you can, and I've done it many times, you like call a friend and you say, listen, I'm going to vent for 5 minutes. Can you hold that trash can for me while I just like vomit all these toxins? And a lot of people are like, oh, sure, because you're like pretty much asking for permission beforehand instead of just like coming to somebody's door and spending hours and hours of complaining. So that is the difference. Yes, you have the right to say what makes you feel bad, but you don't really have the right to take up people's time and contaminate your environment with complaining, because complaining is a negative seed that is not going to transform into something nice. It's not bringing solutions. It's not benefiting anybody, especially you. So the complainer, in this case, becomes more bitter the more we complain. We become bitter. That means we have a filter that everything that comes inside of us, pretty much we transform into this bitterness. That becomes toxins, and those toxins becomes really toxins to our body, producing all kinds of illnesses, stress, and so on. Also, complaining pretty much keeps you in victimhood, which is not really good state to be in, because when you're in victimhood, you are just saying, well, I'm not responsible of my reality, everybody else is. Everybody else is to blame. So this company fired me because it's their fault, or this people did this because it's their fault. My mom doesn't care me because she's bad, because blah, blah, blah. So when you actually take responsibility of your life and you say, everything that I am looking at right now, it's a consequence of a choice I made in the past, regardless of whether you know what choice that is. Sometimes we just don't know, but we can still take responsibility and say, okay, my reality is something I have manifested through the actions that I've taken and the decisions that I've made in my life. But it's really hard to take that responsibility and also complain. You can't really be both. If you notice, the complainer is in victim land, but those who are conscious, or the moments we are conscious, sometimes we can't get to be conscious the whole time, otherwise we'll be enlightened. But those of us who are awake, and the moments that you are awake, there's no way you can complain, because you know that you are responsible for every single thing that's happening in your life, even though there are things that you don't know where they come from. And so what happens is the cycle of complaining is addictive. It's not only contaminating others, but it's also contaminating you deeper into it. So it's addictive because by you focusing on the negative part of things, you're expanding that part of thing. And we are all living in a magnetic field that gets different results depending on the energy that you're injecting to it. So by you injecting that energy, negative energy, the magnetic field is producing something to back you up on that statement. When you watch that thing, you're like, see, I told you it's really bad, blah, blah, blah. You keep complaining. The negative field produces something else to back you up, and so on. And that cycle keeps coming along to the point where you are no longer capable of seeing the positive part of things. You are no longer capable of looking at the positive in anything. Even though when people tell you solutions, or when people comes in and tells us, hey, what about this way? What about this? I think it's in this way. You think that's stupid, or that's not going to work. I've been in that situation many times where I'm like, oh, no, that's never going to work, because she's never going to let this or that, and that's never going to happen because blah, 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 blah. So that's a cycle. It's very addictive, and it's really challenging to get out of it, but it's not impossible. So the other thing that you have to keep in mind is emotions are like equivalent to our physical state of being. So I like to see it this way, and this is a great analogy. Imagine, actually, I took this from Eckhart Tolle, I think, in one of his books. I don't remember which one, but I'll look it up and see if I find it. So physically, because we are so attached to everything we see, right? We make an effort to present ourselves to other people in a nice way. So we make an effort to dress well, to clean ourselves, to take showers, to, if we're like feeling constipated in the stomach, we go to the bathroom. We're not going to just, not poop wherever we go and not do like anything about it. So what I'm saying is, physically, we make an effort to make ourselves presentable to society, right? Now, emotionally, we don't, because emotions are not tangible. So we have never really practiced ways in which make ourselves presentable to society. So when you have no handle of your emotions, and when you don't really know where your feelings come from and what to do with them, I like to call that emotionally immature. And I think that we are all, in a way, emotionally immature, and we go through stages where we're more mature than others. But complaining, it's a big sign of being emotionally immature, because that in that moment you're not really aware of the bigger picture around you. And maturity can be very easily defined by the capability of seeing the big picture of the world around you and noticing how the world actually moves and works and it's organized with itself without actually needing you to be present, and how you, even though you are part of the web, you're like a very little small dot on the magnificence of the universe. So the more we realize that in our day-to-day life, the more mature we become, because that makes us more aware of others, and then therefore that makes us more being at service of others. So it's really hard to be at service of others when we're complaining about how life is not the way we want it to be. Does that make sense? So complaining, it just makes you stay in victimhood. It makes you contaminate others with negativity. It makes you more deep addictive into the cycle of complaining. It also makes you diminish your capability of focusing on the positive of things. It also makes you bitter, and it shows that you're emotionally immature. And it also shows that part of us where we're ungrateful, because it's really hard to be a complainer and also be grateful for what we have. And being grateful is just that one part of being able to focus on the positive part. And just to end, I want to make sure we all think about how appropriate it is to meditate in order to have a little bit more of a grasp into controlling our complaining habit. And that is because truly what we want to do is to acknowledge that there is something negative in front of us and keep going. Like we want to acknowledge that there's something positive in us and keep going. So the idea is that we could practice acknowledgement and yet keep going. We don't have to identify or believe that negative thought. When we believe in the negative thought, that's when we feel the prompt or the desire to complain, because we actually take that thought as if it's ours, and we say like, ugh, this is what I believe, this is who I am, I hate rain. And talking about that story, I got so defensive. I got out of the bus and I said, what, I'm not going anywhere, I don't want to go. And I did. I went out, and from that point on, I had a really hard time keep going to the play, and it was ending, so that wasn't much of a problem. But I wanted to prove to myself, and I wanted to prove to him that I wasn't a complainer. And it was so hard, because I realized every single word I said every day of my life was a negative thought about something, and I wasn't aware. So meditation, in this case, I did not do meditation at that time at all. I didn't even know what meditation was or anything. But it just opened up, the idea of being more self-aware And little by little through the years, I realized that day was just the first day in which I peeled one layer of awareness, of self-awareness. And what I was saying about meditation is that meditation, the practice of meditating, is exactly that. It's observing our thoughts and acknowledging that they're there and letting them go. Acknowledging that they're there and letting them go. Acknowledging that they're there and letting them go. And again, remember, this doesn't mean you're not going to take action accordingly to what you believe it's best. But what this really means is that you're pretty much ending the suffering that comes with complaining, and you're in a better situation and in a better place to make decisions, conscious decisions, about what you want your life to be. And those decisions can better serve your personality and who you want to be. So I'm going to stop this one right now, and then our next video I'm going to talk about tips and ideas of how to keep complaining low. Thank you. I hope you liked it. Thank you so much for watching our episode of Be Better Thursdays. If you would like more inspiration plus exclusive invitations and free resources to become better every day, please find the email list link in the description below this video. And if you like this video, please share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel, or just like it. See you soon, and remember to be better every day.